what today is. It's That's What She Said Wednesday. How are you ladies doing?
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, before we do anything today, anything serious, any of our topics, anything we've got to discuss, we have to take a very, very quick moment because today is a monumental day that the numbers from last year have now been published, and our good friend, my sidekick, my bestie from another. Okay, listen, she ranked number 53 out of the top 100 women mortgage originators in the entire country. That is up. Okay, listen, that is up from the 99 spot last year, which was a huge accomplishment, right? A huge accomplishment to even rank in the top 100. Now you basically bodied half of the top 100 and you ranked to number 53. How do you feel?
Well, I feel good. I feel excited. I feel grateful. I'm thankful. And I feel like, honestly, I'm sitting with the feeling of I have nothing else left to prove. Like I've done every single thing that I said I was going to do in the business. And now it's time for me to have new goals and really coach and educate and uplift other people that want to achieve those certain goals. There's still a lot more big numbers to hit. There's a lot. So basically, I really feel like I have nothing left to prove, because you don't really work this hard unless you have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. And anyone that says otherwise is lying. Like we're competitive, right? Like we're competitive. We fight. We work hard. We have something to prove. And I just feel like I don't have anything else left to prove. So I'm grateful to God for that.
And you don't. You don't have a thing to prove.
Yeah, so that's really how I'm feeling. Like I just don't have nothing left to prove, and I'm grateful and excited, and I'm really looking forward to whatever God is going to unfold as my purpose moving forward in this business. Now I'm in a state where I can really coach and help and uplift others, and of course my community. I'm still going to continue to do what I'm doing. I'm still going to continue to do it at a high level. I'm still going to break down barriers to home ownership, and of course still going to work on having great partnerships and seeing where it goes from here.
That's right.
I want to know. I just want to know who told you couldn't do it, Patty. Because who doubted you, Patty?
Man, there were a lot of people that never wanted to help me. And I hope one of them see this one day and realize the days that I was knocking on your door and I was asking for help and you treated me like I was a redheaded stepchild or you treated me like I was a nobody. I want to thank you for that because that rejection really fueled me throughout my career. And I made it a point to never be like that when someone asked me for help. So thank you.
I love it.
Absolutely. Well, what I want to, let me go ahead and there we go. Well, I'm going to make sure that everybody understands why you are the best in the business in just about 2 seconds. So let's go ahead and do some quick intros. My name is Kaylani Blackwell. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Women in Real Estate, a nationwide platform designed to empower. You know what? I got to make a pause. I think I made a mistake, you guys.
How?
I think I shared the studio link instead of the YouTube link. So all these folks that are sitting in my studio, enjoy from where you are, but please hop on over to YouTube for me. Anyway, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Women in Real Estate, a national platform designed to empower women and minorities by giving them access to information and resources and education and all of the things so they can shorten their learning curve in the real estate space and create generational wealth for themselves and their families. So thank you guys for coming back another week. Go ahead, Patty.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, thank you guys for being here. Are we just doing intros right now? Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay. When I read the comments, I get distracted. Yeah. So my name is Patty Goodspeed. Been a mortgage banker for 21 years. I am a real estate investor. I'm a mom and I'm just a real lady. So that's it. I'm excited to be here with my girls.
Period.
My name is Nasima. I'm a mom and a real lady as well. I am a labor and delivery nurse. I am a personal finance enthusiast. And, I'm just here to normalize Black wealth.
Perfect.
Period. Oh, so while I fix this error that I made in the background, but today was a really, really big day. And so for Patty, for you to reach number 53 and rank that high in the nation, that's not by accident. And we already know it's 21 years of hard work that you've put in, blood, sweat, and tears into your business. But you have really made it a point to really hone your craft and become an expert in what you do. And we just came off of a 2-day Fed meeting that ended earlier today. And today's a really big day for your industry. So for all of you who do not know why Patty Goodspeed is the GOAT, can you please give us an update and tell us what happened and why and all of the things?
So, I mean, after 3 weeks of interest rates rising, headlines really making home buyers feel discouraged, and not discouraged necessarily because of the payments, because they still qualify for what they want to purchase, for the people that are applying, for the people that have started that process. But the problem is, with 3 weeks of ongoing and continuous back-to-back headlines that are telling them affordability is an all-time low, renting is cheaper than buying a house has become a luxury, it's impossible for you to make this happen. It's been really a big damper. And you hear it from real estate agents where there's less leads to convert, there are less conversations that are taking place, and less confidence in the market. Long time ago on our webinar, I shared an economic report with multiple economic academics, experts across the country that really talked about something that we don't talk about enough, which is consumer confidence. Consumer confidence by itself plays a major role in what happens, consumer behavior. So when you have a bunch of these, I'm sorry, I finished that sentence properly. Consumer confidence plays a significant role in what impacts demand. And of course, the behavior in the market, which can affect a lot of different things, how a realtor shows up, how a seller shows up. And so all of those factors matter. And when you have headline after headline after headline for 3 weeks in a row saying that mortgage rates are going up and affordability is at an all-time low, if you're a home buyer, you're like, man, I just want to sit this one out. And that's exactly what's been happening. So just as a quick recap, last year when the market was expecting the Fed could hike again in 2023, interest rates peaked over 8.03%. And then after Jerome Powell really dissolved any fears and concerns that the general market had that there would be another rate hike, basically what they were calling at that time prematurely a Fed pivot, that drove interest rates from 8.03% back down to 6.375% heading into 2024. And at that time, the probability of a rate cut in March was 90%, guys. So imagine that you are looking at the headlines, even when it's good, you can't trust what they're talking about because there was a 90% chance of a cut in March. Raise your hand if you saw a cut in March. You didn't. All you saw between the February and now is diminishing probabilities for a rate cut. So today, what Kalani's alluding to is the Fed meeting. So for the 6th consecutive Fed meeting, rates remain unchanged. They didn't cut and they didn't hike. And Jerome Powell actually did do a good thing by saying in the press conference that they're not going to be expecting another hike. This was an important thing. The words that comes out of his mouth for the last 6 meetings has completely swayed the market. You notice I said that the rate has remained unchanged for the 6th consecutive Fed meeting. However, if you look at mortgage rates, they've gone anywhere from 6.25% up way over 8% across the last 6 or 7 months. So what you're seeing is the market responds to what they think the Federal Reserve policy will be. And as a result of that response, then consumer confidence goes up and down. It's all a bunch of predictions and it's all a bunch of bets. And all of that information that you see on the headlines needs to be balanced with the truth, the fundamental truth. So that means that you would know if you're paying attention, whether it's through my newsletter or on the webinar or through this show, you're going to understand that as we see news coming up and down from the Fed, until they're talking about rate cuts seriously and the Federal Reserve themselves open their mouth and talk about that, you're not going to want to bet on the headlines. At the beginning of this year, we would have expected that there would have been 6 rate cuts in 2024. When people were talking about that and I was adamantly against it, everyone hated my voice in that room. But the problem was they have to stick to the fundamental truths we've been saying repeatedly. There was no chance of 6 rate cuts in 2024 with where the economy was headed. So Jerome Powell did reiterate today that they want to continue to work towards their 2% inflation goal. That goal of getting us back down to 2%, I want you to understand, if you're watching this from the perspective of real estate sales and you want rates to go down because you want sales to increase, you're forgetting about the multiple millions of Americans that are struggling to put food on their tables, struggling for the cost of eggs, struggling to fill up the gas tank. Inflation is a much larger problem than the real estate industry. So I'd like to shift that paradigm to make sure everybody understands that the Federal Reserve's tight stance on their monetary policy is valid and necessary. And I'd argue that they're doing a pretty good job. Now, this meeting helped the bond market go up a little over 40 points today. So what happens when the bond market goes up, Kelani?
Interest rates go down, Patty.
Yes, so mortgage rates actually improve. So there was a very slight improvement today after several days of increases. So it balanced things out. It doesn't mean rates are coming down significantly. It balanced things out. The overall 30-year fix is still well over 7.4%. But here's what it means. It means that there must have been some nugget that Jerome Powell gave today that enforced some confidence in the markets. And that is relative to quantitative tightening and quantitative easing. So I'm going to try to simplify this as much as possible. So Jerome Powell says that they're going to continue their runoff. And when you hear that, most people are like, what does that mean? It essentially means that when the Federal Reserve decides to buy assets, they're buying securities, what they're doing is they're putting more money into the market for circulation. And they've slowed that process down. So when they're saying that, hey, we're going to slow down the process of slowing that process down, that means that they're pretty confident that inflation is showing signs of improvement. And in order to keep the markets balanced, to avoid a recession, that they're going to do what it takes to the money supply so that that tightening loosens up just a very little bit. And that gave the markets a little bit of confidence. Now, I would caution you, as I stated on threads with many people, nobody interacted with, which is no problem. But what happens on there, tell people like, hey, listen, if you're watching this Fed meeting today, looking at the bond market, you might want to lock that rate if you're under contract and you're going to close within the next 15 days, because on Friday, we have a big job report. Today's ADP report came out, and that ADP report revealed that there was 192 jobs created, okay? So the 192 jobs that were created was higher
192,000?
192,000, excuse me, yeah. 192,000 new jobs created, a large majority of those being in the hospitality and leisure sector, and that was above 180. So when you have ADP, which is a little bit more of an accurate report showing numbers of new jobs being created above expectations, you can expect that the job report, the big BLS job report that's going to come out on Friday, will also mirror that and maybe even higher, because the household survey that's done on the BLS report, the big job report that comes out on Friday, is essentially making a bunch of phone calls to see how many people in that household are working. Usually that number comes in higher than what we see for ADP. So the Federal Reserve did say that they are looking to see if there's any signs of weakness in the labor market that would probably give some sort of motivation towards a rate cut. So of higher for longer rates at the Fed level before they consider a cut. So overall, this was good news for the bond market. There was nothing that was drastic or overly hawkish bond market into a frenzy. But what we did see was a little bit of hope, saying that, hey, we're seeing things move in the right direction. Nothing to justify a cut and nothing to justify a hike, and stay tuned for those job numbers. So you want to watch really closely. If you get under contract and you have to close within a short period of time, you definitely want to lock before Friday's job report, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Lock before Friday's job report. Got it. You know what? First of all, thank you for delivering that so concisely. I can't help but feel like the worst, for lack of better terms, is yet to come. How possible is a soft landing? Every single time that there's been a market correction, historically, if we are looking at the data, there is it's paired with a recession. And so, I mean, are we really able to get out of all of this softly, or is the government just taking longer to rip the Band-Aid off at this point?
Well, if you look at what's happening right now and you look at the numbers, the economy is doing pretty well. So I don't think anybody expected that that if we were in a 5 to 5.25% interest rate environment, higher for longer, at the Fed level for this amount of time, that we would not have seen a crash, something harsh or something breaking. We did see small signs of slowing down in the GDP growth, which is welcomed. Those are signs that you want to see. And we're seeing a little bit of weakness. I would say small signs of, there's more signs of conflicting information in the job market than I would call weakness at this point. So what you're seeing is historically very low unemployment rates, along with moderate wage growth. And you're also seeing that people are still spending money. They have the money to spend, and this is not crippling the economy. So I would argue that the chances of a soft landing and avoiding a recession are pretty high based on how the Federal Reserve is pacing their monetary policy. Now, I do think that we need to pay attention to what they're doing with the runoff. We need to pay attention to, you see, the government is spending a great amount of money. Jerome Powell reiterated today in the press conference that they don't care about election year. We don't know how true that is on this side of the equation, but the Federal Reserve did confirm that, hey, we do not care about the presidential election year. That has never been a factor in our policy, right? So if you kind of read Joe Biden's tweets in combination with what's actually happening in the economy, that might make a little bit of sense. So it's a little believable. But to answer your question more directly about a soft landing, I would say that, hey, nothing's breaking, and interest rates have been higher for longer than we expected, especially with the way that inflation was improving earlier this year. And I would say that we're on pace to avoid any sort of major worrisome large recession if we just base it on what's happening today. The economy has proven to be extremely resilient, and people are still making a lot of money in the stock market, and home prices are up 6.4% from this time last year. So everything's pretty much going well and not breaking. So I'd like to say that kind of supports the idea of a soft landing.
I don't know. To me, I feel like the sentiment, just from a consumer perspective, is kind of been like, low, or down, like people are losing their jobs, even though the ADP report shows that they're creating more jobs, and people can't afford groceries. I think what you're seeing as far as like affordability is a lot of people borrowing, taking money for 401ks, putting stuff on credit, and kind of putting band-aids over things right now. That's what I'm seeing from a personal finance perspective. So I think it's hard for people to think in terms of like these big economic like conditions that are going on, because in their pockets, they're not feeling, number one, they're paying more for groceries. Number two, they probably haven't gotten raises to keep up with the rate of inflation, so they're making less essentially. And I think that's a sentiment that we're feeling a lot, and that people are telling me about. So, everything that you're saying, I know makes 100% sense, but like personal finance down to an individual level, I don't think it's really trickled down.
No, you're absolutely right. You're highlighting what's referred to in those reports as a consumer sentiment. There have been if you survey someone on Twitter right now and you've got 100,000 followers, you're going to have 80% of those people tell you that they are certainly feeling the tight monetary policy and the impacts of that. And that's also revealed in the job reports, because when someone loses a job, it's actually taking them a lot longer to find a new one. So they're staying unemployed for longer periods of time than they can. The number of people who are job hopping is going down. Job hopping in your sector, especially as an influencer with the topics that you talk about, you'll talk about switching companies every 2 years. Maybe not in the nursing profession, but certainly in the tech profession, where people would get a job and then every 2 years they would switch jobs. And as they're switching jobs, they would get paid more and more and more. And it's like an upward plan. Well, you're seeing a lot less of that. You are not wrong. In the tech community, I serve the Silicon Valley area. We're seeing a lot of buyers lose confidence. I just had a client who had a $2 million bonus, a signed offer letter from Elon Musk himself with a $2 million sign-on bonus, get laid off in the middle of our transaction. So it is happening. No, the layoffs are happening and people are feeling it, and other companies are experiencing lack of growth. So we're not seeing a bunch of jobs being created for computer sciences and PhDs, and we're seeing a large majority of those new jobs in hospitality and leisure, and those are not those type of jobs that, necessarily people will raise their hand and say, I can afford home ownership because I'm working at a hotel or I'm working in a restaurant, right? So that's a very real problem. Those wages are not sufficient to meet the demands that inflation is creating. So what you're talking about is clearly highlighting what a large majority of Americans are feeling. And my message on that note is that, listen, that is going to be the reality of our future. I told you guys last week, and I'll say it again, the number one cause for inflation is government spending. That government spending is not going anywhere. The government spending and the interest payments that the government has to pay is going to have some sort of impact on the monetary policy. And I don't know how that dynamic works, but there has to be a little bit of pressure for a rate cut. So I do believe that we will see one rate cut in 2024. I do believe that government spending is the number one cause for inflation. And I do believe that inflation is going to be a long-term problem. It's not going to be solved in the short term. It's not going to be solved by starting to cut rates as late this year and early next year. We're just going to keep repeating this cycle. In order for home ownership and other investing or certain lifestyles to be affordable, you do have to focus on creating more sources of income, because the likelihood of income increasing is much higher than the likelihood of home prices coming down and the cost of goods and services over time becoming more affordable.
100%.
Okay, so I think this is a perfect moment to kind of transition this conversation into something that I really, really, really wanted to talk about today. So there was a creator on TikTok. I'm going to play it for you in just a second, but was talking about an article and basically says Gen Z says that boomers will never understand today's struggle. Take a look at this, everybody, for a quick second.
Boomers will never understand today's struggle because they could afford to buy a Cadillac off of a $30,000 salary and be able to qualify for a home. Why can't you just admit that it was easier 30, 40 years ago? I am 36 years old. Just 15 years ago, when I was 21, living in Los Angeles, one of the most expensive cities in the country, I was crushing it, making $2,200 a month, serving at the Outback Steakhouse just 4 days a week. Me and my buddy split a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment. Our groceries were $50 a week a piece. We used to go to breakfast 3 days a week. We used to go to the bars 3 days a week. We furnished our entire apartment. We used to go buy DVD sets. We had disposable income. We were saving money off of $2,200. We were never worried about bills at all. And then $100,000 back in the day, just 12 years ago, you were crushing it. When I first made my first $100,000, I went and got a BMW. You know what the monthly payment was? $333. One of the nicest apartments in LA, a 2-bed, 2-bath plus loft, was $2,300. Today, $2,300 is a studio apartment. You need at least $200,000 to feel the same purchasing power as you did just 12 years ago with $100,000. I don't know why the boomers can't admit that.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about it. He is not lying. Okay, so of course, in true, Kaylani fashion, I had to go back and find this article and all of that. One of the things that, and we're going to pivot a little bit, this is, an economic conversation, but I got into a debate probably like a week ago with my dad, who is Gen X, mind you, not quite a boomer, but Gen X. And we were sitting around having a conversation, and there's this sentiment or this air about millennials and Gen Z being lazy and they don't want to work and they're just complaining and all of this stuff. And I said, sir, I'm so sorry that the affordability of living life these days is not the same as what it was back then. That doesn't mean I don't want to work. Are you kidding me? Not only is the world sad, is it depressed, is it at war every 5 seconds? Not only is work so there's so much movement or lack thereof. Not only is the economy, is inflation super, super high. Not only is rent super, super high. Not only are groceries super, super high, but you mean to tell me that this is because millennials and Gen Z don't want to work? You are absolutely out of your freaking mind. So when I saw that TikTok, I said, oh, I have to bring this to That's What She Said and get another take on it. So I also pulled some data to support this this claim. So, first of all, if you are a boomer or Gen X watching this and you have this perception that folks don't want to work, don't ever say that again. We're not living in your
Wait,
reality.
let me just share this comment real quick I got on Instagram from a boomer, and they said boomers are struggling now also. Most of us are retired and are on a fixed income. So on a fixed income from that's based off of an income that they had back in the day. With these inflation numbers, like they aren't living their best lives either. So
And I feel like they're starting to feel it, right? So I've got godparents, very similar situation, right? Fixed income, really debated earlier on in the year what they were going to do with their home. Should we sell it? Do we need to downsize? And it's like, whoa, this is crazy. They're affected too. But this, there are some, that are still doing well, right? Save for retirement well, and whatever the case may be. Boomers, Gen X, don't say that anymore. You live in this world today, right? This is our world now, right? This is the new reality of things. And I'm glad that you got, this great life where you were able to, create wealth reasonably at a younger age. I'm so glad. That's just not our reality today. So I did some digging, pulled some data, and I just want to, read off a couple of stats, but let's choose 1980 as the year. So boomers were born between 46 and 64. So let's give them at least a 20-year delta to buy a house, right, for the 1964 boomers. And let's just say they purchased their first house in 1980. Let me go back to my screen. The average, median home price in 1980 was $62,200. The average salary in 1980 was $19,200. The percent of your income for your annual mortgage payments was only 20.87% of your income to afford said mortgage at that time. You had also experienced in 1980 a pretty hefty, sizable salary increase over that. I'm sorry, I don't have that one broken down by the year, only a 5-year stat for progress. But let's fast forward all the way to 2023, since those stats are out. Average salary in 2023, $73,000. Average home price, $426,000.
Mm-hmm.
And the percentage of your income for your mortgage payment on an annual basis is now 37.62%. That is absolutely ridiculous. So I wanted to make sure that we kind of talk about this again.
Yeah.
Gen X, what am I saying? Gen X and boomers, you got to give us a break here. I mean, this is the current reality that we're living in.
Let me just share like a couple of things. Number one, people were saying that boomers, like we were saying, boomers are feeling it too, but boomers are now staying in the workforce longer because they can't even afford, like even with the things that they've had, like they're staying in the workforce longer. But also it was a comment in there that says that it's unfortunate that the hyper-competitive culture of our capitalist consumerism creates an us versus them diatribe in our discourse. So I think that's true. Like, like I think, like it's really not us versus them. I think we're all struggling. We're all feeling it. But as someone who's going through it in real time and seeing those numbers, you're like, yeah, but you had it a lot easier. But everybody is out here feeling it, and I think that's the overall sentiment that people are getting to. Like, yeah, it's not us versus them, but
if you hear a boomer, if you hear a boomer say that millennials and Gen Z don't want to work, it's the same as them saying music isn't what it was anymore. Your music is trash, right? Because it was what they were used to. It's something that they know versus what we know, and I'll tell you why I say that. Is because you have a 16-year-old marketing on Twitter who's making an average of $30,000 a month, $100,000 saved in their account. And you think because they're sitting in their bedroom with headphones on that they don't want to work and that they're lazy because they don't want to mow the lawn, right? Or they don't want to ride a bike at 5 a.m. and throw newspapers on people's lawns. So I think that's where the misconception comes from. So if you say back in my day, well, it's not back in your day anymore, because I have a 16-year-old on Twitter who's making 30 grand a month selling whatever they're selling. Also, you have a guy like Sahil who used to work at Pinterest, the creator of Gumroad, who made his first dollar on the internet selling a picture that he sketched on a piece of paper of a pencil. A picture of a pencil. So you don't understand, Mr. Boomer. Okay, Boomer, you don't understand that there is money made on the internet that doesn't require me waking up at 4 a.m., riding a bike and throwing newspapers on someone's lawn. And I would like to add to that argument that the Gen Z makes up 21% of the US population, and over 63% of them, when surveyed, said that they still associate owning a home with the American dream. You can't be lazy and still associate owning a home with the American dream. You understand the value of taking that money and laying roots and having a primary residence. So I would argue that the facts kind of, disprove those emotions that are expressed through the boomer population, who just see things a lot differently. My mom doesn't understand a lot of the things I do, but I do them because she was born in 1949 and I was born in 1998. Just kidding.
I was like, hold on, boo.
It's like, is she still a millennial or is she Gen Z now? I wasn't sure. Right. Absolutely not. You look amazing. Well, and I think too, a sentiment that we're hearing a lot from Gen X too is that they're taking care of their adult kids longer, right? It takes a while for folks to get out of the house. And parents are really having to support. And they're like, what the heck? When I was your age, this wasn't the problem. And it's like, dude, for you, at my age, for you, moving out and doing your own thing cost you 2 pennies, right? Like, you were paying whole ass rent for $300 a month. Like, it's a whole different vibe out here. It's a whole different energy. It's a whole different requirement. It's a whole different demand on us at this point. And then that's just the housing component, right? So if we have agreed that on this show, we've said that home ownership is now becoming a luxury, which, Patty, you've said that like a million gazillion times at this point. If home ownership is becoming a luxury, yet Gen Z are expected to be able to not be lazy and to, put down some roots and take care of themselves in that capacity, how is that even possible? My question is, what's the starter home culture looking like right now? Are people down for starter homes anymore? Like, is that even a thing?
That's a very good question. Naseema, I'll just answer this quickly and say that's exactly why you're hearing headlines that say home prices are coming down. Home prices are not coming down.
They're not.
Homes are 6.4% higher. But let me tell you what's happening about your question with starter homes. People are buying smaller homes. Mm-hmm. So they're buying in a lower price range instead of pushing their limits to a higher price range, making the reality of starting with a starter home much more appealing than stretching the budget as they have been for the last decade. So to answer your question about smaller homes, many, many Americans who are pre-approved are going for the smaller homes in the new build and in the resale community because they understand that they need to spend more money and start smaller. My very first house was a $248,000 halfplex. It was a tiny 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, but I owned it and I rode my Honda with a lot of pride onto that driveway. So you should start small and you shouldn't be picky when you're buying your first house.
House hacking is the way to go, I say.
Yeah, that's a fundamental strategy. And that's one of the very first things, like whenever in Wire or when people ask, how do I even start investing? How do I get into investing? How do I create a portfolio for myself? The very first recommendation I could ever even make is house hacking. 100%, one of the very first ways to start. And if anyone is unclear on what house hacking actually is, if you think about having your home, owning your home, renting out a bedroom, that is house hacking. You are hacking your bills essentially in half by splitting them with someone. But that same principle applies for small multifamily assets, 2 to 4 units as well, which there are a lot of loan programs that Patty Goodspeed can offer you to explore that option. And the income or the projected rents for those extra units will count toward your income when, I hope I'm saying that right, count toward your income when you are qualifying for that loan.
Yes, you're right.
Okay. All right. So moral of the story is boomers, get off it. Okay. Just get with the program, get off it. All right. But this is a really great transition for the next topic that we have today, which I think is going to astronomically change the landscape of the workforce, right? When we talk about being able to earning potential, being able to earn more money, being able to diversify our income, or even really apply the skills that we've learned, we are happy to announce that the FTC has essentially banned non-compete agreements. This takes effect 120 days after the ruling, assuming that there are no lawsuits that put this proposed ban in place, right? That slow it up. But essentially, the FTC has banned non-compete agreements. So if you have a non-compete agreement, it's very likely that your existing employer will no longer be able to enforce that agreement. Now, this is a really big deal. First things first, if you ever had to go to court for a non-compete, they very much have a hard time holding up in court anyway. So I don't think that folks are, anyone who wants to push back or file a lawsuit against this ban, if that's how it works, I hope I'm saying that right, it's even going to go anywhere, because we all know that non-competes don't hold up well in court as it is. But non-competes have hindered a lot of people from taking what they have learned from years of experience in any given position and working for a competitor. Mm-hmm. Why would somebody ever want to work for themselves? Yes, there's a stat. I'm gonna come with the stats again. I believe it is the FTC projected that banning non-competes could increase worker pay by a collective $300 billion each year and lead to the creation of more than 8,500 new businesses each year. Mm-hmm. Now, that is absolutely insane. Now, I have had to sign a non-compete before. I had one, and I honored that non-compete when I ended up making a move. And it sucks, because it's like, wow, I have just spent not only have I spent my time, right, making you a bunch of money, but now I can't take the skills that I've learned and apply them somewhere else, or make a lateral or even vertical movement to increase my position, my title, my salary, because Lord knows that when you stay at a company and they're not giving you merit increases, or you're not being evaluated properly, or you're not getting the raises that you deserve, or I see new employees coming in starting off at a higher salary than I've been able to earn over the last 10 years. The only reason I'm even staying here is because I can't take what I do here and go do it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So this is a really, really huge progress. Now, I will say I am a huge fan of the ban of the non-compete. I do thoroughly believe in NDAs, and there are going to be ways that companies try to circumvent this or sneak in, confidentiality in other areas. But this is a huge, huge win for workers. Huge win.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't think that non-competes affect them, but most people just don't read their employment contracts. Yeah. And I do, like, even in nursing, it's a thing. I recently had to negotiate away a non-compete because I have my own educational platform, and I was being brought on by an educational institution to teach. And I was like, I have my own content. I don't want it to seem like I can't teach my stuff because I am associated with this institution. So this needs to be removed. Even without that, like, even if I didn't have my own platform and I'm an educator and I found a super effective way to educate my students and I wanted to bring that to my own personal platform, these non-competes can hinder that. Nursing techniques, like all these kind of things. There has been intellectual property that has been taken for nurses. Like, nurses engineer a lot of things out of necessity, and their non-competes in hospitals say that, oh, you've been doing this thing at this hospital this certain way. Now, when you go over to this other hospital, you can't do that, or you can't branch out and start and be a nurse inventor and do these things. So a lot of people, I don't think, are affected by non-competes. A lot of people are affected by non-competes, but I don't think they understand the depth of how it was affecting them. And hopefully this will shed some light on some opportunities that people have to be able to take that intellectual property that they have acquired through certain industries or on their own and be able to, again, branch out, make more money somewhere else, or take that and make more money for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have anything, Patty?
No, I was just going to ask, why do you think that they're banning it now? What led to this?
That is a good question.
I wonder if it has anything to do with like you're saying, it doesn't hold up in a courtroom, and maybe there's too many lawsuits that are created over this, and maybe it's a big fat waste of time and resources to be able to go and argue over a non-compete that that doesn't hold up in court. I've heard that a lot myself, because in my industry, when you're recruiting people, you do get certain incentives, and there's an agreement, and there's a non-compete clause, and there's NDAs, there's all these things. And many times they get hashed out in court, and you don't have to live up to the agreement if they are claiming that you broke it. And it's usually the employer, the big guy, coming after the little guy, right? It's not the little guy going after the big guy. So I can see why there'd be some incentive to get rid of this. It's a waste of time.
Yeah. Chamber president said that called the new rule a blatant power grab that will undermine American businesses, their ability to remain competitive. So I think, there could be some big business like pushback on this for sure. But there's also another stat that 18% of workers have non-compete agreements in place, and it heavily hinders their wage growth. Exponentially hinders their wage growth. So yeah,
I think it's akin to us seeing a lot more around like pay transparency and things like that. Like the power in is kind of shifting a little bit more towards employers and fair labor practices. So I think maybe this goes hand in hand. It makes sense, but I honestly don't know why this is a thing right now. But I'm here for it.
Yeah, so Vina Jetty is commenting on Instagram, and I'm trying to flip back and forth. Hey, Vina, definitely a friend of the show and friend of ours. She mentioned that you just can't take customers or relationships even if they really are yours, is what I think she's saying. She also mentioned, I think that they did it to solve the shortage of healthcare accessibility. I think it's like 70% plus of doctors have non-competes, and that's causing a huge shortage of healthcare or in healthcare. All kinds of problems there.
Wow. So there we go. Thanks for that, Vina.
Yeah, thanks for that. Definitely. A lot to unpack there. Just know we are not legal professionals. So if you have a non-compete in place, somebody else in the comments is saying, so you mean my non-compete? I don't know. I don't know nothing. I was reading. I don't know nothing. Consult your employment attorney before you make any decisions, right? But
always and forever.
Yeah, but with non-competes, those are one of those, I'm kind of willing to toe the line a little bit. Obviously, I'm always operating with integrity, and it's not, coming from that place. It's really hindering the ability and for the greater good for people to earn more and for more businesses to flourish. If I, work at Instagram, or who did you just mention that worked at Pinterest and then started Gumroad?
Sahil.
Okay, imagine if he wasn't able to make that transition, if he was under a non-compete, taking what he learned in the tech industry to start a tech platform, right? Essentially. So, we need more businesses. We need more women businesses. We need people being able to innovate. And that's what makes, I think, America really so great with, innovation and the ability to see that creativity through to a real company. So,
yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out more about how that will impact various industries for sure.
Definitely. All right, ladies. Well, we've got 15 minutes left. I would be remiss to not shout out our lady Jade. She isn't here to do our hot take today. She'll be back next week. That Dallas traffic, caught her all the way up. It's okay. We miss you, Jade. But in lieu of Jade's hot take today, let's go ahead and pivot to talk about one of the hottest takes. Patty, go ahead and say what you need to say, because we don't disagree much, but we disagree today.
Raise your hand in the audience if you'd like to come with me to Drake's funeral. That's what I want to know. Who's coming with me to Drake's funeral? Because
out of here,
murdered Drake today. And so we woke up this morning. I'm like, hey, what are we listening to? I got to get on this walk. I got to walk these 3 miles. What do we got going on? And all I saw was Kendrick. And I listened to that 6 minutes, and I was like, wow. And I posted RIP Drake. I mean, I think that was yesterday. Yeah, I mean, it was rest in peace, Drake, because your boy, Kehlani, got murked, and he's no longer in existence. I don't even know if he can come back from this. Have you heard it?
I'm gonna let you get this off your chest. Go ahead.
It was 2-1. It's not 2-1. I'm sorry, Drake just got murdered.
No, it's 2-0. But go ahead, get it off your chest. Naseema, are you up to date on this?
Not. I was very much asleep when this was going on. Like, I'm so behind.
Well, don't worry. I'll catch you up. Let me tell you what happened. Y'all ready for my recollection of events, how they occurred?
Okay, let's go.
I don't know. You're representing a dead man, so I don't know if I want to listen.
Wow, I didn't know Patty was a
Yeah.
bully. God dang. First of all, Drake is very much alive. Second of all, Kendrick is rapping and throwing jabs at the ghost of Drake's past, first of all. So let me just make sure that we make something very, 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 very clear. Drake is that dude. He's been that dude. I'm gonna give you Nasima to catch you up before I give my thoughts on Kendrick's latest diss. The Kendrick dropped an initial diss track, and it was weak. Everybody said it was weak, and it was like, okay, you got somebody's attention. But Kendrick, along with 20 other miscellaneous producers and rappers, all came at Drake's neck. Now, my question is, and I don't know that we know the answer, is like, Drake, what did you do, boo? Why are you have everybody so mad? I want to know. But that's beside the point. Hip hop, there have been legendary hip hop beefs for the history of hip hop, right? Mm-hmm. This is not new. So if you are going to wage war on the GOAT, then you just need to be prepared for what comes with that. All I would like to say is,
imagine being somebody calling Drake the GOAT.
The GOAT?
He's a GOAT. He really is.
He was weak.
Wow.
I think I'm older than you guys, so I'm just loving this
tutoring session after this. If you're calling Drake the GOAT, you're falling into that. Are you a Gen Z? I think you're a Gen Z. Yeah. Yeah.
No. I'm very much a millennial, but you know what it is? You know what it is? Is that Kendrick, here's what was wrong with Kendrick's latest diss, is that he said everything that has already ever been said about Drake. I appreciate the fact. I'm not saying that the song wasn't dope. He came out swinging this time around. He had to come way harder because his initial diss was trash. He came way harder this time. I'm here for it. I like the battle. But here's the thing.
Of the internet.
Let me finish. You gotta let me finish, okay? I know you're offended. It's okay, Miss California. I get it. It's fine. But what you have to understand is that he is coming at Drake about the same issues that Drake has had to battle against his entire career. You not black enough. You not good enough. You're trash. I hate you. You gotta be. Somebody said to me, you gotta be the wackest person to openly say I'm someone's biggest hater. Could you imagine coming out and saying, yeah, I'm your biggest hater? What about you would want to say that? So, okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you're going to insult and come for Drake, they're all just mad that he got it and went pop. He got it and went pop. The gap is so far wide. He has way more hits, way more money, way more motion. The gap is too wide. So the best thing that Kendrick can say is, we don't mess with you. We don't like you. And I'm speaking for the culture, which I don't know who that culture is. That's the best that you can say. You're not black enough, boy. Bye. Get out of here. Coming from a fellow mixed kid who is highly misunderstood, bar for bar, Drake is up 2-0, and I rest my case.
I have no idea what's going on.
Objection, Your Honor. I'd like to know what part of the internet would agree that We Don't Trust You is not a classic. I'd really like to know that. I really wish Jade was here for this.
A classic?
Yeah,
a classic?
Yeah, you got to listen to that beat. That is going pretty hard, and Push-Ups isn't even coming close to just that verse that Kendrick Lamar put out. I like Drake, and I'll tell you, Drake is an incredible actor. He's a great performance artist. Drake knows how to put on a show. Drake knows how to morph into 7 different people. What Kendrick said about his different accents and all the different things that he does and puts on a show. He said, I like melody Drake. I just don't like Drake when he's trying to be hard, because Drake is not hard. And that's a fact, so Drake really does need to stop acting like a gangster. And so that's one of the big problems that we have with Drake here in California, in the Sunshine State of California. And so Kendrick Lamar is a poet, a Pulitzer Prize winner, a writer that can probably go up against the best of them. We're not talking about the entertainment business. We're not talking about music. What we're talking about is rap. Okay. And if you're putting up Kendrick Lamar against Drake, you are not going to see Drake out rap Kendrick Lamar. And the funny thing is that Euphoria came, like Drake was trying to talk shit. Drake was saying, oh yeah, you're 5'4", you're this and that. Yeah, you better come back with like a quintuple, like a five, whatever quintuple entendre. And he did. He came with Euphoria and he hit him with those 5 different, elements right there. And you got to be extremely skilled to pull off what Kendrick Lamar did for 6 minutes on bright and early on like a Tuesday morning. I mean, that's war. Okay. So I would like to rest my case, Your Honor, that Kendrick Lamar is the clear winner here. And Drake is probably somewhere cuddled up with a fuzzy blanket crying, because that's what Drake does.
Drake is probably somewhere drinking his tequila passion fruit mixtures on an island somewhere, laughing. The fact that he's even entertaining this business with Kendrick Lamar is giving Kendrick Lamar way more play. And the fact that you're dissing Drake's versatility is wild. Kendrick is a one-trick pony, right? Drake can appeal to the masses, and that's why they are mad. Now, Kendrick, I'm not saying Kendrick's not a good rapper. I'm here for the beef.
Excuse me, Your Honor. She called Kendrick Lamar a one-trick pony.
Is he not? He's a lyricist. He's a lyricist. What else?
What is rap about?
I'll wait. Oh wow. There's so many elements. There's so many elements. And Drake too was rapping circles. Did you hear his second diss track that he had to remove from the internet? Where he AI Tupac and Snoop's vocals?
That Tupac's estate had removed from the internet. Now, I don't know if you listened to Tupac when you were young, or if we can vibe on this right here, okay? I'm a Tupac.
Wait, before you say anything, we bonded. The very first time we ever bonded was over a Tupac song. So please.
Okay, fine. I'll love you over there. But let me just tell you something about Tupac. If Tupac was around, there'd probably be nobody like Drake in the business, okay? Because that bar is extremely high for rap. Rap you're talking about Drake turning into, Drake is an R&B artist. Okay, he makes pop songs, he makes R&B songs. If you think that Drake is the GOAT, then you might as well say, who's the other white guy with the curly hair that says, I'm vanilla, baby? What's his name again?
Wow. You had to dive deep in your bag for that one, didn't you, Betty? You had to go search real deep in that bag.
No, I forget his name. The one on Churchill's down.
I didn't forget his name, but I'm not about to tell you.
What is his name? He's so corny. I can't stand him. This is the generation that's calling that dude a rapper. Okay, that dude is not a rapper. Okay, so we're just not used to that in California. And
so, are you saying Drake's not a rapper?
No, I'm saying Drake raps. Drake sings.
We're talking about. Let's be specific. We're talking about Drake.
Drake is a fantastic entertainer, but Drake is never going to go toe-to-toe in a battle rap, and he's going to get hurt. He's not one of them, and I think that's what the problem is. I think what was so hurtful that Kendrick Lamar said, "I'm not black," and so I think there's certain elements that I don't have the right really to speak on. But he's like, "I'm speaking for the culture. We don't want you to say this anymore. We don't want you to play. I don't like the way you dress. I don't like the way you look." I mean, he really came for him, and it's going to be hard for Drake to come back from that.
Sounds like a hater. I don't like the way you dress. I don't like the way you do things. Go don't do them.
Comments if you'd like to come to Drake's funeral with me. We're carpooling. Tailgating. We're tailgating.
Like we can agree to disagree, because I really believe that Drake is one of the best artists of this generation, and I really love. First of all, Drake has never backed down from rap beef. Never, not once. His light skinned ass ain't never backed down from a battle, right? Has he not? And he's shown up every single time. So anyone can dish Drake and say he's not black enough or he's Canadian. He's this, that, and the third. At the end of the day, he has stepped up to the plate every single time.
Girl,
so much respect, and I cannot wait.
The plate after this, the plate was demolished. He's not.
The plot shall thicken. He dropped 2 back-to-back diss tracks. You think he's going away? Get out of here.
Please raise your hand.
Get out of here.
Raise your hand in the comments if you think Drake released a diss track, okay?
Wow. You know what, Patty? That being said, we're just going to go ahead and put the people out of their misery.
Carlo's not a rapper, just in case anybody didn't. Okay? We're putting an end to this. K-Dot forever the GOAT.
Yeah, we'll see. When Drake pops back, we'll sit around we'll put the lyrics out and we'll sit around and we'll highlight bar for bar and we'll see what really happened. All right, ladies, this has been another That's What She Said Wednesday. We will be in the Bay Area for On the House Real Estate Industry Game Night on June 6th. If you would like more information, DM any one of us. We can get you that information. We'll be promoting that very, very soon. Let's do our outros and get up out of here. Nasima, go ahead.
Hey, well, I'm Nasima. Come hang out with me on Financially Intentional to get your money right, or just to laugh and dance with me and my kids. Yeah, check me out.
What's up? I'm Patty Gunstein. John, you are so cool. This was pretty great. Lately, maybe my friends have been talking about the microbiome, and Elvis died with 60 pounds of unexhausted waste in his body. So that was a reminder for me. Take care of your gut health. That's what I'm doing. I'm exercising every day, and I'm really trying to take care of my gut health. That reminded me of that. That's my outro. I love you guys. I'll see you guys very soon at the Truth Behind the Headline webinar.
I don't even know what's going on right now. When Jade watches us back, she's gonna be like, I can't leave y'all to do anything.
No, she can't.
Good Lord. All right, guys. Again, I'm Kaylani Blackwell at Kaylani B on mostly all socials. I'm on vacation. My vacation officially starts. I am in Boca. My baby sister, shout out to Victoria. She is graduating with her undergraduate degree from FAU tomorrow morning. Shout out to Victoria. Proud of you. I love you. I will be figuring out how to sneak in an air horn to the graduation. I am one of those people. So anyway, it's been wonderful. We will see you next time on That's What She Said. Bye, everybody.
Bye.